somebody.
Mike, go ahead.
I was going to say, you talked about a little bit in the press conference, just Southern Miss, Ole Miss. Can you talk a little bit about what this kind of means for the state as a whole?
Yeah, I was just on a radio show. I think you can tackle that question in a lot of different ways. I mean, certainly something I said last year, I think in our post game that you just heard in this year's, post game down in Miami, that year after year, so much success at a lot of the baseball programs in the state. I think the ones we're talking about are State, us, and Southern. This weekend, I think we all, and when I say we, not just the coaches and baseball players and reporters, but I mean the state of Mississippi, I think, realizes how good we are in baseball, right? On a national level, from regionals and World Series to attendance and all those things. Maybe nationally people don't understand or appreciate as much as we do, but I think the more that you have this, State winning the national championship last year, both of us hosting, us playing Southern in the championship game. Now this year, Southern hosting and playing us in Super Regional. I just think cements the theory that Mississippi is really good in baseball, and when you look at the attendance numbers, obviously, the people of Mississippi really appreciate baseball and support it, as well as any state, in our country.
These two teams obviously have pretty similar recruiting footprint too. Just when you look at the way these teams are built, how many Mississippi players, how much Mississippi talent is here, does that surprise you? Does that impress you, just with such a small state having that much talent?
I hate to say surprise because I've been here for a long time, so it's hard to use that word. But back to what I said down in Miami, of a state that's got 3 million people, I got corrected. I understand that there's 6 million people in the Dade County Metroplex. So I used 3 million to, they didn't like that. They want to make sure they knew they were twice as big. I think when you look at the numbers, it might be surprising. You go, wow, there's a state that has that much support, that many players, and have had that much success.
Where do you think that comes from? The talent, I guess.
I think part of it is just over the years. I mean, when you grow up in a state that has this type of success, I think at our level, and I mean our level, our being college baseball Division I, I think kids a lot of times grow up wanting to play at their respective universities. There's no doubt that people wear their allegiance of the school, be it Ole Miss or Mississippi State or Southern. I think quite proudly wherever you go, people introduce themselves by their allegiance. I found that out like in my first day here, 22 years ago. So when they're growing up with that type of allegiance to a university, and all those universities are very good in baseball, and they know it's important, and this many people show up, I think it kind of lends itself to kids grow up wanting to play at those universities.
Is there any update on TJ yet?
No, haven't heard anything. He was doing some work with Josh today.
Like, how important, I mean, y'all aren't the only team that has a lot of older players, which is how COVID is, but having all that experience and the older players to help just kind of keep the ship steady this past month and keep the kids' minds, in front of them. And I think about maybe how April went and all that. Just
Sure.
What has that meant to have that?
Well, I've said that the last few weeks, that I don't think we're here today, without certainly Tim Elko, the team captain, but an older group. It shouldn't just the leadership shouldn't just fall on one guy. And although Tim's a tremendous leader, but just an older team that is, kind of the phrase that I've used the last week or so with them is just handle it. And they have just handled it. We were at a point, I think, at 7-14, 22-17 overall. And sometimes teams will go in different directions. And one of them's not good. It's a really dark place and tough to get out of. This team chose to just keep playing, and I think a lot of that has to do with the leadership and having an older group of guys.
Mike, what's your relationship with Scott Berry like? He talked the other day about coming in at the same time you did as a member of Corky's staff, and was kind of watching the things you've done here. How much interaction do y'all have?
I wouldn't say, we're friends, but I don't have a lot of friends. So we're friends, but I think probably the best way to categorize it is respect. Just total respect for him, what he's done there, the way he runs his program. Not only are they good, not only do they, it's going to be a very difficult place to play with the way their fans show up and as loud as they are. We've been down there obviously for at least 10 plus times. I don't know how many times in my career we've been down there, but probably 10 plus times. It's a tough place to play, but back to Scott, just respect in the way he does it. Not only are they good, he's built a tremendous program that's as good as anyone in the country, but he does it the right way. And at the end of the day, we both know at the end of the day, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. But really respect what he's done and him in that dugout.
You were talking about not facing some of the pitchers that are on the roster in the last 2 times you faced them. Based on some of the guys that you haven't faced, what do you kind of know about them and what do you think has kind of just made them successful at this point?
Well, I think that's when people ask, hey, Southern Miss, you played them a couple times. So we know a little bit about their lineup, obviously, but the thing that you don't know is those 3 starters, and 2 of them we've invited to the USA team this summer, and so Hall and Waldrop, and so we know that one of the probably the thing when you talk about Southern Miss baseball is this year's team is how strong they are on the mound. I think they give up the second least amount of runs in the country of any other program, second to Tennessee, and we know how well they pitch it. And so in different looks, I think that's when not only are they all 3 guys, super talented, but they're different looks. They pitch differently in the way they go around about their business. So I think that can bring some obstacles to your offense that you're going to face basically a different guy every single day. And the pen's good, and it gives you different looks. Like a righty, lefty, some different arm slots. They really pitch it. They just don't give up runs, and it's going to be a big challenge for our offense.
You got a good look at Hall last year in the regional. Just what do you remember about his outing? And is he the same pitcher as then? Has he grown a little? Just kind of what do you remember?
Well, he's grown just because, to be the Friday night guy for the whole year, I think, and to have the success that he's had, everybody grows, but he's the people that really appreciate baseball and pitching will appreciate, Hall, the way he goes about his business, and it's a fastball that it's very impressive, but not because of the velocity, but more because of the location, the movement, the way he handles it, uses the fastball. Certainly the changeup is outstanding as well, and again, those numbers don't lie. You can do that in a short stint, but to do that for whatever he's had now, 15 starts or so, those are video game numbers. I mean, his stats.
Derek's stats have been really good the first time through. His 4th pitch, is there anything specific you've seen when he's running any?
No, and that's been asked a lot, Chase. I don't know if that necessarily went this weekend. I mean, they hit a home run in the first, I think. So, I think, if you look back at this past outing, the ball, was really it was jumping the whole weekend, but really jumping that day. Really warm, wind gushing out, and you just wanted to keep the ball out of the air. Because it seemed like any ball, and these weren't gibby, and I don't mean that in his home runs, nor were ours. I mean, the ball Kemp hit, holy cow. And I say that just because, I think what, most of his issues this past weekend was, missing, which can happen to him. He just misses too many times over the middle of the plate in some bad spots, and he's had to pay the price for it. We've had also success on those Sunday games because even though he might have not have been lights out, but he gives you enough length to get through a time and a half, maybe 2, to get you to the 4th, 5th. On Sunday, as we've said for 20-something years, if you, on Sunday, if you can, get into that where you let your offense go to work and keep you in the game, and even as disappointed as he was, at the end he leaves it at 5-5, right? And fortunately, we're supposed to score. We scored, and you're supposed to score on Sunday. So he's got to be better. He knows that, but it is what it is at this point.
Doherty was
last year at the end of the Super in Tucson, you talked about continuing to bang on the door and put yourselves in position and things like that. When you get back here in this position again, Is there anything you look back on from last year and say we're going to do this differently, or is this about you know the
It's a
similar
great
approach?
question, and it's been asked for a long time. And it's not necessarily something that we do wrong. Meaning, we don't bunt enough, or we don't, hit and run enough, or we got to throw more curveballs earlier. Everybody wants to, and I think and it's not just me. I think if you ask most coaches, you're in this position because you've done some things really well, and the thing is, can you duplicate it again this weekend? We feel we're good enough to win if we play well. We know Southern Miss, is a really good team, and like playing in the SEC. If you don't play well enough, you lose. And to me, it comes more of that. I think when you look at the losses, it comes to not playing well, and it may not be, sometimes not getting enough hits. Sometimes it's not pitching well enough. We've been here a while, so we've lost, certainly our share of these games or these weekends. That's not a secret, but it's not because it's some strategic thing. I know you have to ask the question, but I don't think it's a strategic thing. I think it's about playing well. Good.
Thanks, Coach.
Mike.